Hello, you lovelies. Let's talk about the Penguin episode 7. The penultimate episode of Penguin was so surprising for me. It went places I did not expect it to go. We're going to talk about that here in a moment. But please hit that subscription bell. If you're new to this page, I do comic book news and comic book reviews. The actual comics themselves, my goal is to get people to read the physical comic books, but I also talk about comic book movies, comic book TV, and regular movies and TV. So if you're into pop culture, if you're into comics, into movies, into TV, hit that subscription bell. Also, my favorite thing about having my own personal page is the comments. I really love this being like the back of a comic book store. I really love this feeling connected. So leave a comment below. Let's talk about the Penguin episode 7 and the rest of the whole series. And I want to hear some predictions below about where this is going to go for the finale and how that might set up the Batman 2. And leave a like while you're at it. So comment, like, subscribe, do all the things. I don't like long intros. Let's talk about the Penguin episode 7. This episode was trauma. This episode was so intensely about what makes us who we are. And I think the show, every time you think you've developed a sense of who the character is, this show geniusly goes, no, don't worry, there's more to this character. Whether that's Sophia in this episode, realizing that even after she's escaped the shadow of her father and the Falcone in name, she's still acting as her father would in some ways, and that is generational trauma. That is how you're raised. That is what you're grown up in. And even taking on the name Gigante, there's this beautiful moment when she's wearing this incredible coat and she's covered in fur and she looks like a supervillain and she's talking to this kid and you worry about this kid's safety. The next scene, after realizing she's just like everything she wanted to escape, that scene is so traumatic, she sheds the coat and she shows her scars, and she becomes who she is with the help of Theo Rossi. We'll talk about Theo a little bit later on, but then you've got Penguin. This episode is largely a Penguin flashback episode, and what's crazy is we get a moment with Victor, who literally is only in a few minutes this episode. Minutes. He gets crowbarred. I was really afraid he was going to get, Joker, Jason Todded, because he is mirroring all of the Jason elements of Robin to Penguin as Batman. He's, under his wing. He's living in a cave with him. He's like his number two. There's a lot of Robin imagery, and then a crowbar appears in a character that's very Joker-like in Sophia. She's got a psychiatrist who adores her that helped her get out of Arkham. There's a lot of energy that is Joker and Harley. So when a Joker-esque character wields a crowbar, and then there's a Robin-esque character on the other side of the frame, you worry. So I was shocked that he got out of there with seeming concussion. But I love that the first thing he says is, "I'm sorry." He is still trying to seek approval. And I love how that mirrors Penguin always trying to seek not just approval, but authority of domination. And the fact that we find out in this episode, he's willing to seek authority and domination even in killing his brothers. We've known he had brothers throughout the season. We've known that the mother doesn't like to talk about it. We also know that he lied about his mother being dead to Sophia, and we don't know what he's willing to lie about to us as an audience or to himself. And now we see that he's responsible for his brothers dying, and he does not seem to be affected at all, except for the glee of getting his mother to himself. And then the mother, in turn, is broken. Usually, the trickle down of things, like the mother raising a child will break them. Here, clearly, the kid's being raised in a dangerous way, but it also goes back. And what happens to his brothers breaks his mother. He traumatizes his mother to such a level that she's broken without him. She completely relies on him, and he in turn completely relies on her for affection, for any sense of, big, strong bull of a boy. And that's what he feeds off of, is being the one in power. And that's largely because of what he implemented with this horrible cycle. And then later in the episodes, he kills Salvatore Maroni, and he doesn't like how he dies because he doesn't really kill him. Stroke or heart attack does, but then he has to spit in his face the last words. He has to be in a position of power to say, like, no, I did this to you. I want you to remember this, to no one. No one else is watching that happen. He needs to feel that. Then he shoots the guy to carry his body out. Now, that serves a very practical purpose of showing strength and taking things on, but he also psychologically needed that win. And that is such a fascinating thing, all cycling from his childhood and seeing Jack, his big brother, and him being that middle child energy, seeing how Jack, wanted to handle things. We also meet the guy with the cigar we heard stories about in the first episode that got his parade when he died. We also see the aspirational goals he has to be like that guy, how much he wants that kind of life, like that's his ideal. So all of this episode is just peeling back layers, just uncovering more and more about the Penguin in the penultimate episode. Usually, especially with superhero TV, the last episode is kind of a denouement, kind of a resolution, kind of a finale that's the epilogue, the thing that happens after the big action. You'll notice on especially Marvel, like MCU shows, the big action is in the second to last episode, and then the last episode is what's next. We get a beautiful thing with this show that it opens with everything already in progress. This is the denouement to the Batman. It's what happens after. This also has, accelerating action, but it can have a finale that is pure conclusion of this story, and the resolution can happen in the Batman 2, and we're about to find out what the Batman 2 is going to be. I'm curious if Theo Rossi's character turns out to be someone we know from Arkham. I don't necessarily know if he'll be Scarecrow or Hugo Strange or someone like that, but this character does kind of uncover a bit of malice here. You do see some interesting lighting of his using his psychology to maybe manipulate Sophia even if he loves her, and what does that mean, to what end? Sophia, I really hope, is in the Batman 2, because we're going to care about the criminal enterprise that she's built, and what Batman means by putting people in Arkham, and the trauma she went through, and Batman's doing that to everyone who puts in Arkham, and then obviously the Penguin's going to be involved. But whatever happens in this last episode is going to go right into the Batman 2, so this episode can be a full-on blowout with a cliffhanger if it wants to, because 2 years later we find out what happens. That is so unique for formatting, so unique for world building, so unique for shows that don't have to button themselves up in a season. If this gets to be a bridge between $200 million movies, this gets to be its own story where we can focus on the Penguin. And it's amazing that the Penguin got his own show, not just because, who would have known that B-list, sometimes C, depending on who's writing them, Batman villain would be a show on the caliber of Breaking Bad, would be a show on the caliber of Daredevil. You know what to expect from a Daredevil show. And I think Penguin is getting more respect and more of his due on this show than any of us ever expected, which is ironic because that's kind of the character whole thing. He wants respect. He wants his due. Now he gets it in a show, and we don't know how it's going to go, because we see in this episode kind of the things that make the man mentally, but we also see a lot of the things that make the man physically. He is watching Fred Astaire, and he's got the cane and the top hat and the tuxedo, the penguin suit. We literally get to see what his mom thinks is cool and special, so therefore he thinks is cool and special, and what he considers authority because of the guy with the cigar, and why the cigar is important to the character, and why it's important to him to feel like that's masculine and that's the man. And that ties into what I said at the beginning. We find out these characters realize in their own moments who they are versus who they want to be versus who someone told them they should be. Penguin is figuring it all out, and we're watching it happen, and he's only making choices to serve himself. The bomb that gets delivered in that amazing bait and switch, where even down to the door opening and the light shining in, and you see the lights outside in the underground, you assume that's Sophia. They kept a close-up the whole time, so I thought it was a fake out, but then I got double faked out because the lighting when the door opened. I love that was a bomb, and they had just saved his ass seconds before. Seconds ago, the Penguin was like, you guys did this, and you deserve all of this, and, you guys stuck it out with me, and, look what we've built. You're my army. And then he literally jumps into the morgue, the mausoleum, the last resting place. Not really a morgue, but he jumps into the last resting place of his brothers, and he doesn't blink an eye. And he, just like the Penguin in the comics, in that moment is born in the sewers. When his brothers die, the Penguin is born, and then later on, he's born again in those sewers, willing to do anything to climb up, to rise from nothing into something important. And we're seeing that happen with wardrobe, we're seeing that happen with choices, and it's always what's going to serve him best. He is such an absolute piece of garbage. I did not expect Maroni to bite it. I did not expect Sophia to have that conscious crisis moment, especially with the child. I did not expect Theo Rossi to kind of start to show a duplicitousness. I don't know where he's going to go in the next episode. And I didn't expect this episode to not really feature Vic. I really thought Victor and Sophia, one of them would bite it. The mom or Victor, one of them would bite it, and that would be what this episode is about. Instead, it was a flashback giving us more and more about the Penguin himself. This show never ceases to amaze me. It always zags when I think it's going to zig, and vice versa. It also is a show that is, and I've said it before in these reviews, it is a show that is a fist fight, but instead of fist fighting, it's dialogue. It is all about subverting expectations with words and leveraging people and playing on their weaknesses. And It's so genius in its manipulation. I love how much we hate Oz now, and I love how conflicting that is. I love how we feel about Sophia being conflicting. I love that Victor, I don't think he makes it, man. So this show is absolutely sensational. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this episode. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the finale. Let me know what you think is going to get us set up for Batman 2, because like I said, this is really unique that this show is not having to have a denouement. It doesn't have to have a resolution like most shows do. Let me know, again, what you guys are experiencing and thinking. Am I on the money? What do we think is going to happen? And leave a like while you're at it. Hit that subscription bell. Trying to grow this beast to 40K is next, and then on to 50K. And at 50K, I'm going to do a comic giveaway. Give out 50 comics to one of the subscribers on here. So I'm overwhelmed by how much I love this show. The only thing I don't like about it is that it ends next week. And I'm really bummed to see it go, because it has been an absolute pleasure. It is out of this world. I love the gefilte fish and the goyles and the greatness and the glory of the penguin in this show. Check out my reactions over at Real Rejects, where you can hear more of my ranting and raving and glory and happy, but also watch me watch the show with Craig, because it is something special, and I'm going to miss it dearly, and I cannot wait for a hopeful season 2 and the Batman 2, which we are getting in 2 years. So cannot wait. Much love. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe, and let's leave. Okay. Much love, guys. Bye.